Okay guys, this video is called my 2 5-minute layouts videos. The video is, the layouts are easy in concept. That's where the 5-minute parts is, but admittedly putting it together takes a little bit longer than 5 minutes, but I hope you enjoy it. We're just trying to come up with new and innovative ways to use our paper. So for this class, we need 2 sheets of coordinating designer paper, and I want both sides to have some contrast, especially not to have any white in them because we're going to put some of this on white background. We need 1 sheet of coordinating cardstock. I'm using leaf green. These are papers from the Emerald Gemstone paper pack. And we need 1 sheet of white cardstock. Now, we also need blank pages. If you're working on regular album pages, you would need some of those, or you might need 2 more white cardstock or another solid cardstock to use for your base. So the first part, one of this class, it's called Stairs of Squares. So we're gonna line both of these sheets of paper up, and we're going to stack them very carefully on top of each other and cut them both at the same time. I'm gonna go to the 6 3/4 line on my 12-inch trimmer and make a cut. Now, this piece that we're pulling off is going to be used for the next part 2, so just put it off to the side, not too far away. All right, we need our paper to, instead of being 12 inches long, to be 11 1/4, and so we are going to line it up at the 3/4 inch line, right over there. And we're going to cut. You can save these strips if you want later for another project, but we're not using those. All right, so now my piece of paper is 6 3/4 by 11 1/4. And we are going to cut them into 2 1/4 inch strips. So vertically, I'm going to 2 1/4. Again, my paper is stacked, so every cut is giving me 2 strips. Back to 2 1/4, making sure it's lined up. Now we have 6 strips. Now I'm going to turn them the long way, the hot dog way, and we're going to cut at 2 1/4 multiple times to get them all down into 2 1/4 inch squares. Each one of these strips is going to yield 5 squares. And since we have 6 strips, we're going to end up with 30 squares. So just make sure you're always at the 2 1/4 line. As you're cutting your paper, you might find it helpful to keep your different papers together, so when you're sorting the patterns later, it's not so challenging. Okay, that's 10. If I was really tech savvy, I could fast forward through this part, but I'm going to keep cutting them all down till we get 30 squares. Oops. Almost measured that one wrong. 2 1/4. All right, my last strips. So we're basically going to just arrange, when I say stairs of squares, we're going to arrange these blocks across a 2-page spread. It's just a nice way to incorporate the equivalent of 1 sheet of paper, really, into a nice, colorful 2-page spread. It might seem a little tedious, but it's an easy concept. And so, all right, got all my squares. Put my trimmer away. I'm gonna lay out, I'm just gonna work on white cardstock. So I'm gonna put out my 2 sheets here and start laying them out. Now I like to do things in a very symmetrical fashion. It's just my nature. So I'm gonna, if I do it on one side, I'm gonna do something on another side. So I'm gonna start, like, these are mirror images. And I'm just gonna start placing, use that side here maybe. Start staggering these and just kind of go down the diagonal. It's a different side right there, the blue, black, and the black side. So there. We're going to end up with 15 squares on each page. So I might build up now from the bottom. I don't know if you can see this far down. Not adhering anything yet, just kind of lining it up, seeing where things will be. Okay, peacock in the corner. Let's see. They're not going to be touching when I get them all lined up. We're just kind of moving ahead here. I'm just going to kind of randomly, kind of fast, kind of not fast. Let's see what I have here on this side. Oh, here's a pattern we haven't used yet. But if I stick in one of those, it's kind of nice. Or maybe I'll flip that one over to do this side. Now we're really getting crazy here. So 5, 8, 11, 13, and I can put one in each corner here, like that. You get the idea. So as for pictures, obviously I don't have any pictures to add to this right now. Print's a little off here. I need more of these. Put this over here. One of these there. One of these here. One of these here. Okay. I don't know. I'm a little off. Just playing along with it. All right, I'm going to show you a variation before we stick the. So the idea is you're just going to very carefully stick these down, maybe 1/8 of an inch apart. Have them kind of going in stairs up your page. Now, let me show you what I did as a added little feature in my sample. I used a corner rounder to round some of my squares. Let's see. Here we go. So if you wanted to do just something a little extra, you could use a corner rounder and just corner round the opposite corners before you adhere them. Just gives it a different look. Not a requirement, just an option, but it's a nice little option. So there you go. So I might do this in, if I'm going to do one, then I might do all the corners that touch in one section. And then I would just go ahead and stick them down. I'm not going to take the time right now to stick all of this down because I want to go ahead and show you what we're using with the rest of those sheets of paper. But just to give you an idea, here's the finished, one of the finished projects. That's another sample. And if you didn't want to go with the corner rounder and you just wanted all straight squares, here's another one. So you could very easily put pictures, you know, partially on top of here. Of course, save some room for journaling. I see one that I forgot to stick down, so I'm gonna go ahead and stick this down. All right, so that's stairs of squares. I'm gonna put this gently away, and we're gonna move on to part 2, which is border wedges. Okay. So basically for border wedges, we're going to take the two pieces of paper from, hold on, that we just cut off, the 2 pieces that we cut off from the other paper, and we're going to cut circles out of them. We need to cut 4 circles from each of these pieces of paper. Now, before we do that, we're going to cut some strips out of our cardstock. These are actually going to be the mount for our borders. So we're going to go to 2 3/4 for the white. We need 2 strips that are 2 3/4 wide. 2 3/4. 2 3/4. This is scrap. I'll save this for later. All right, my leaf green cardstock, we're going to cut it 3 inches. Twice. Okay. Now we're done with the 12-inch trimmer. The goal is we're going to mat these white strips onto the green after we've created our circle wedges. So we need our cutting mat. Now if you're not familiar with the Creative Memories cutting system, there are shapes. They come in various shapes. The circles, there are 3 circles in a set. There are tracks on the inside and the outside. And there are 3 different blades, each with cuts a different size. So there are 3 sizes to cut from the outside and 3 from the inside on each one of these. For this particular circle, we are going to use the medium-sized circle, and we're going to use the red blade on the inside. Now you can just freely go through the whole paper and cut out 4 without any problems. If you want to be very conservative with your paper and still have some neat mats to make, for the rest of the project, I'm going to try to go really close to the line. So medium, circle, red blade on the inside. I've lined up my template so it's kind of close to the paper's edge. And got my 2 legs in the track. We're going around. These are making circles that are about 2.5 inches. Again, close to the edges. Gonna cut another. Again, close to the edges. That makes 3, and then four. They should all just jiggle loosely out of there. Voila, I've got my 4 circles. I'm gonna just right now stick this in my personal trimmer to cut this waste off of here. Save this hunk of paper to make a mat or 2 later. All right, same thing for the other paper. 4 circles. I do like that these classes keep me in touch with using the different tools and reminding me of different options for them. This one, I got a little too close to the edge, so I'm not sure. This one's going to cut cleanly. There we go. I'm going to make it work. That's 2. Three, and the last one is 4. Okay. They should all jiggle loose. I'm going to put this in my trimmer, get my mat. All right, put this in the trash. All right, now for my 8 circles that I have, scoot this up a little bit more. We need to cut these in 4ths. So it's kind of tricky to do this evenly. You can use your personal trimmer or the 12-inch trimmer. But if you think of it like this, if it's a just shy of 2.5 inches wide. So I'm going to put my circle on the 1 1/4 inch line, just shy of the 1 1/4 inch line. And I'm going to chop. Go up here where the flat edge, I like it a little easier to cut, and chop. I'm cutting 2 circles at once. You could try to do more, but I think that gets you a little bit less accurate, and you might have stress down the road for that. So let's just do it. I don't know. Should we try 3? Let's try 3. Let's be brave. 3 circles. Putting it on the 1 1/4 line, or just a little shy of it. Wedges out of the way. Look, we did it. Just make sure you're holding down on that paper tightly if you're using this personal trimmer. All right. I think we should have 3 more circles to cut. I'm going to be brave and do them together again. Okay. Oops. All right, last 3 cuts. So our circles are cut into wedges. Now we're going to put them back together. How is that, you say? Well, we're going to mount them on the white strip ultimately, but before we do that, we're going to kind of just play with the pattern and lining them up. So we're going to start with the point to the left. I'm just there's no need to really put this on the center line, but I'm just sticking it there just for ease, okay? And then we're going to put the next pattern the opposite way. So the point is on the right. So you see how I have opposing arcs here. So now my next paper I want to use, I'm going to go back to the solid. Maybe it'll be this dark paper. Now I'm going back to point on the left. So our circles are not exactly even, so give yourself a little grace about that. But before we start adhering, here's an easy way. We're going to sort of weld them together by just getting tape runner and rolling it over the seam where they join here. Now don't worry about this being on top of the design because we're just going to flip it over. We still have these beautiful prints on both sides. Oh, I got an extra wedge under there. Goodness gracious. All right, well, I don't think I'll get my tape on it. We'll figure that out. All right, so see how it's sort of welded together? Now, I'm going to take this and flip it over. And I'm going to put it more or less in the middle of my strip. As best I can guess. Now I'm just going to continue the pattern in both directions. So this peacock is going to go next. Just sort of eyeballing it. The blue will be next. And we're going to do this until we complete the border. It's going to overlap a little bit on each side. And you might have to jiggle these a little bit. Like I said, it's not even. And remember, these are embellishments that we're creating. Your pictures are going to be the stars of the page. This is just going to look like a very creative way to enhance your pictures with these beautiful blues and greens. All right, so we're going back to the dark. Make sure you're being mindful of your sides of paper so you're not putting your adhesive on the wrong side for what you're going for. And the peacock print. Next is my blues. So I'm going to overlap, that's okay. I'm going to start the other direction, back to peacock. And once I finish this line, then we're going to show you how we're going to trim it and mount it. Okay, I'm going to scoot it down just a hair. I've got this one next. Blue is next, so put it on the black side. The nice thing about the video is you can pause, play back, fast forward, stop it all together, get caught up. So I hope you're finding it to be a helpful tool. All right, so I get my last wedge on here. I've got these pieces overhanging, so I'm just going to trim them off. And instead of trimming at the edge, I'm going to trim a little bit further because I want to make my mat. Remember, this white paper was 12 inches long. I want to cut off maybe a 1/8 of an inch or so, plus the little overhang, just to give it that smooth edge. Here's a fun fact. If you're using the trimmer, the space from your track in your blade to the other gray edge is 1/4 of an inch. So I'm not really trying to do that far. But so now I've got this white strip with its trimmed edges. And now I can mount it right onto the leaf green. And it has a nice matte all around. So I'm going to stop the video now because you can go ahead and do this with a second mat. And remember, we have our extra paper that we didn't use. So when you're putting your page together, you have coordinating mats to use. And of course, you still have some other coordinating cardstock. So again, I hope you enjoyed. Thanks so much.